when I came to this country, race determined where you lived, who you married, what side of the cafeteria you sat on, who you were going to, live with. It had everything to do with everything.
You know, I was raised in the South, and I think being raised in the South, those of us from the region tend to have an understanding at an early age that race is a real issue. Doesn't mean that we, particularly if we're white, agree on what that issue means, but anyone raised in the South knows that it is the background noise of our history.
In this contemporary moment, because you can have a Barack Obama as president, because you can have Oprah Winfrey as a multi-millionaire, is she a billionaire? Like a black woman with a whole lot of money. The fact that you can have that in 2015, I have my students who will say, well, we've come so far. Like, why do we even have to talk about all this stuff? It's not like that anymore.
If you think nothing's changed in the past 50 years, ask somebody who lived through the Selma or Chicago or Los Angeles of the 1950s. Of course, a more common mistake is to suggest that Ferguson is an isolated incident, that racism is banished, that the work that drew men and women to Selma is now complete.
I think post-racial is a word that white people made up so that we wouldn't have to deal with issues of white supremacy and racism. I think it's one of those things that we say so as not to have the conversation, sort of like some of my best friends are black, or I dated an Asian woman once, or I have a dream catcher in my rearview mirror. All of these things are things that we say rather than really deal with the subject matter of racism.
Because we're not having this conversation. Where in our experiences are we talking about race? Not in schools. Particularly not in K through 12, right? And we talk about them at the dinner table in a particular way. But in terms of education, we're not learning about race in the ways that we probably need to learn about them given the world that we live in.
So when you ask whites to look at slavery and its consequences,
right,
what are you asking?
I am not asking you as a white person to see yourself as an enslaver. I'm asking you as an American to see all of the freedoms that you enjoy, and see how they are rooted in things that the country that you belong to condoned or actively participated in the past.
So the fact that I'm sitting here and you're sitting there is part of that white privilege.
You know, it's about role and it's about access, and what you can do is extend that privilege so that you can dismantle it, right? So you can create opportunity for people, you can amplify issues in ways that other people can't, and you can use your resources to create space for people.
Let's switch seats. So, DeRay, is there anything you'd like to ask me about being white?
Yeah, I'd love to know what you plan to do now that you understand your whiteness a little better to dismantle it.
This is heritage. It's with us. It's with all of us. And it doesn't necessarily, it's not with you because you're white. You know, it's with you because you're an American. Just like it's with me because I'm an American. I have to live with this too.
We must call upon the courage of those who were in the struggle long before any of us were born. We must tell the story, the whole story, 400 years story of African American contribution to this nation's history from slavery to the present, without anger or apology. The problem we face today as a nation, make it plain, make it clear that there's still a great deal of pain that needs to be healed.